Everybody, welcome to White Hat's HackerKast. I'm Jeremiah Grossman, CEO of White Hat, and I'm here with Matt Johansen and Robert R. Snake Hansen.
Hello.
And this is where every week we talk about the coolest web security stories of the week. And I thought we'd run out of stories, guys, but it seems every week a lot of stuff is going on. So is this new, or is this like 7 weeks in and it's just how it is?
I think it's how it is. We just never really paid attention.
We never logged it.
Yeah.
So let's get right to it. So I'm noticing the notes here, Matt. There's something about Gmail drafts. What is this?
Yeah, this was pretty tricky and sneaky. Some researchers from, I think it was Shape, who realized this first, at least talked about it first, was that some hackers are actually using Gmail drafts as command and control ways to get their messages to their infected machines. So, a pretty common way to, catch a bot in a botnet is to watch this known command and control server traffic coming to a bot. But it looks like these machines are being infected, and then in the infinite wisdom of Internet Explorer allows you to have an invisible web browser be open for some legitimate purpose somewhere that exists. I don't know, but it allows you to open a web browser that is completely invisible, allows that web browser to then, the infected machine logs that web browser into a Gmail account, a common Gmail account, and then saves and then opens up a draft.
Why a draft?
Because there is no in or outbound traffic there, right? It's all stored in this single account. So if the command and control person logs into the Gmail account on their box, saves a draft, and then this person comes and logs into the same Gmail account on an affected bot and then logs into that Gmail account and opens the drafts, there's the message, the command and control message. So there's really, really sneaky stuff to get kind of commands to infected bots.
That's pretty cool. So okay. I don't even know if you classify that as a vuln anywhere, but it is a sneaky way to do CNC. I mean, I heard people using Twitter before, but never Gmail drafts.
Yeah, I've seen people complaining about weird subreddits popping up just that look like they're just full of garbage, and it's definitely what it is. It's malware command and control. I've heard of Twitter also. But yeah, Gmail drafts was kind of tricky because of the lack of internet traffic, so it was kind of harder to spot. So
is Google doing anything about it?
I'm not sure as of right now. It seems like this is kind of the first that people have talked about it. So.
Well, if they were going to do something about it, that effectively means now they have to read people's mail, which is a whole other ball of wax, right?
Who has to read people's mail?
Gmail, I guess.
Oh, yeah, we wouldn't want that.
For now, let's just block access to Gmail and be done with it, right?
No, I think let's block access to invisible Internet Explorer instances.
That's a cool hack on its own. How do you get Internet Explorer to run invisibly? Most of us can't even get that thing to uninstall. All right, so there was also another one that came up. We saw it come up, I think it was last week, right? We talked about this Drupal core SQL injection vulnerability, and it was particularly cool because it's in the core, there was not an extension, and it was non-auth. So we were kind of scrambling why I had to put it in, but there's a new story that came out, right, Matt? So what are the Drupal guys saying?
Yeah, so, we kind of talked about this already. You already hit on the most important point here, is that it's in Drupal core. Right, so you hear a lot of mess with Drupal and WordPress a lot, but almost always it's in these plugins or old versions or something like that. But yeah, in Drupal, let's see, 7.32 and before, I think, is
3.1 and before.
7.31 and before. 7.32 is the fix.
When was that? Like how new is that?
This was October 15th, and today's the 30th that we're filming this. So.
Oh, okay.
About 2 weeks ago, right? Anything before that was vulnerable to SQL injection, and it says that within hours, automated scans were being detected across the internet exploiting this. in mass. So it actually, they're coming out and saying, and this is why it's a story today, is that Drupal actually made a statement that said you just need to assume that all Drupal instances that were on this version before this time and date are compromised.
I'm on the, it's a pretty, they might be right, but I'm also on the fence with it. Assume compromise, so basically that means they're suggesting everybody does incident response like today, like right now. Is that what we're supposed to do?
Well, here's this one interesting quote, right? If you find that your site is already patched, but you didn't do it, that can be a symptom of the site was compromised. Some attackers have apparently been applying the patch after they've been compromised so that they guarantee that they are the only attacker in control of the site. That was the first time I've kind of heard something like that at this scale, so that was pretty interesting.
Hey, if the bad guys can patch that fast, maybe the good guys can too.
This actually dovetails really nicely into a presentation I gave at LastCon last week. I was talking about how the increase in logging of existing scan data means that you don't actually have to crawl the internet to find all of the vulnerable machines on the internet. Now you just go to your database where that crawl data already exists because you crawled it last week or a month ago or whatever, and you just go search for all the target lists and attack them. And now I think, just depending on how you build it, you could effectively attack every vulnerable machine on the entire internet within minutes, not hours. I think hours is actually slow. So I think patching is actually, you can't rely anymore on it taking months to get around to a patch or whatever. Now you basically have to patch in real time, which is pretty freaky.
Yeah, that's pretty quick if the bad guys are moving in less than 24 hours. How do the good guys even find out about this stuff, let alone mobilize a patch in that amount of time? I just don't see how this is tenable. This is not scalable. How do we defend their systems when we only have a day to do so?
It's a really, really hard problem. Part of it is making sure that the signatures that someone would actually use to find your stuff aren't there. So, something as simple as like X powered by in HTTP headers might be a good thing to suppress, just because someone could, go to, for example, Shodan and pull all the vulnerable PHP installs. Let's say it's PHP or something, or all the vulnerable whatever plugin that's that X powered by is basically alerting the internet to. I don't really think that saves you, but it does possibly slow things down. So now they have to crawl the entire internet as opposed to going to a database.
I also kind of feel like we owe ourselves some level of obfuscation at this point. Like, if the bad guys are going after well-known target URLs, maybe we could do like mod rewrite or something like that to rewrite the URL so the vulnerable URLs aren't there. They're somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's funny. We talked in our speed debate with Matt and a few others and I at LastCon about is the modern age of cloud computing where you can actually change data or spin up machines and spin down machines very rapidly. Is that a dramatic change in security? Well, maybe it's not dramatic, but what it might be is a stopgap from where we were a year ago when this technology didn't exist to do this type of scale of scanning. And today where you can, and maybe that is the difference between getting compromised or not.
That could be. It's kind of a scary world. The bad guys are getting faster. We saw it with Heartbleed. I think we saw it with Shell Shock too. And Drupal's the latest one. It's actually it's a nasty hack. And so Matt, and we're checking for this in TRC, aren't we? Like we were up in like 24 hours for Sentinel customers.
Yeah, I think by October 16th, if that's the case, then yeah.
So we have to try to get some stats up on the blog to see what our sample set looks like. I don't know how many Drupal sites are actually doing, but it looked important enough to put a check in for. So Robert, I think both Matt and I are curious. I don't remember picking up a sponsor for Infinity or Red Bull Racing. So what's the story?
Well, because they're paying me a ton of money. No, actually, tomorrow is practice. The day after that is qualifying, and then Sunday is the actual race here at Circuit Americas in Austin. Today is actually pit walk, so I'm going to be down.
What racing is this?
Formula One, the best, the pinnacle of racing, actually. So actually, you know what? Hang on, I'll show you guys. One second.
All right, made it. That was quite a run there. So there's actually two things I want to talk about, but before we do that, I'm standing in front of the Red Bull Infinity team, four-time world champion. Not doing so hot this year, but they're still my team. Anyway, there's two things I want to talk about. The first is there's a really interesting new attack using Tor and BitTorrent in combination. And basically what happens is using a combination of denial of service and just a little bit of traffic confirmation on both sides, you can actually sort of do this sort of fake BitTorrent thing, or say Bitcoin thing rather, where you're basically able to steal Bitcoins without the adversary actually knowing that's happening, but also potentially decloak them, which is pretty horrible. So the moral of the story is Bitcoin plus Tor is not a good idea. You probably should stop doing that if you're doing that. So that's a big hit to the underground. So pretty interesting stuff. So the second thing is Verizon has apparently started adding an extra HTTP header. The HTTP header is actually sent along the wire for every connection made out to advertisers. And it's supposed to be unique, but we don't really know if it's actually that unique. But more importantly, the advertiser can contact Verizon and say, hey, will you tell us what you know about this person, which is pretty terrible. And from the user's perspective, if they do like sort of a proxy or whatever and watch the wire, that HTTP header isn't being sent. But in fact it is, just from sort of the man in the middle. So this is actually a really good reason why you should start using HTTPS as well, although this won't necessarily stop them from doing something else on top of it. Anyway, some pretty interesting stuff coming to you from Circuit Americas here in Austin, Texas.
What is this, a web browser in Excel? What is this?
Yeah, so apparently this is kind of the definition of a hacker, right? The old school definition of a hacker, right? This is why people got in this industry. This is kind of a cool little story. It's not anywhere near as big as the other ones we were talking about, but apparently on some subreddit kind of exploded this week when a Redditor shared his custom spreadsheet on Reddit, and he has got the code over on GitHub. We can post those links in the show notes, but yeah, this Excel spreadsheet allows you to play videos through Excel. So completely locked down work computer, doesn't have any access to Windows Media Player or Internet Explorer or anything like that, or some old version of Internet Explorer maybe, right? No plugins, no HTML5. Even through all those barriers, this guy was able to watch some movies via Excel. So
I like how it says some movies. Like you guys at work going, I gotta watch my adult entertainment. That's what I gotta do today.
Well, the screenshot is of him watching Wall-E. So
yeah, that's what it is. That's a pretty badass hack. I mean, to get a browser out of Excel. I mean, it's just when you think Excel couldn't do any more, it does.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, right? Kind of the why we're talking about this is that Port 80 kind of just keeps poking its head out there, right? Port 80 wins again. Us web guys like that.
Definitely. All right, cool. So I think that wraps it up for this week. A lot of cool stories. We'll see what happens next week. Halloween is tomorrow, so everybody is going to have fun doing that.
What are you dressing as, Jer?
I don't know. It's whatever the kids want to do, so we'll do.
I'm probably doing something beard related.
All right, thanks Matt. And we'll catch up with you next week. And this has been another episode of HackerKast. And if anybody has any stories that they want to send in, things they'd like us to talk about or cover, let us know. Email Jeremiah at white@sec, hit us up on Twitter, and we'll see what we can do. Thanks a lot.